That's mad. I finally got my Puma sprayed and a new roof as well. It actually looks like a new tractor. Definitely needs new tyres and rims. I'll get the tyres and rims painted as well. Wow. Genuinely, you didn't know if it was our tractor or not. You were like, that's not it, is it? Wow. Well worth the money.
Definitely, that's helped her now.
Well, I haven't got the bill, but
Still,
I think it's well worth the money.
but she's a good tractor. She'll still do you another 5.
This is all because people were complaining about the colour of the bonnet. Now they have nothing to complain about. The bonnet is so shiny. My goodness, I cannot believe the difference that made. So welcome back to another week's video. I sent this tractor off to get its annual service 2 weeks ago, and I decided I would give in to the peer pressure and I would get it resprayed because the colour had really faded. The bonnet did look really bad in the videos, and I kept getting constant comments of people asking me to please get the Puma polished. But instead of polished, I decided we would get it resprayed, and I am genuinely stunned, stunned at the results. I have no idea how much this cost. I'm sure it was £1,000, but it is more than worth it. Very happy with the results. This tractor is also due a new set of tyres, and Agri-Gear, who is the importer of BKT tyres to Ireland, Northern Ireland, they are very kindly going to respray the rims for me. So the next thing for this tractor will be a new set of BKTs and to get the rims resprayed, and when that's done, it genuinely will look like a new tractor. So yeah, very good, very happy. Whilst it has been very easy to get the paint changed on this tractor, unfortunately it's not so easy to get the speed changed. So I have an hour's drive now back to the farm, stuck at 40.5 kilometers an hour. I am going to use this long journey home to chat about the current situation in farming. The weather so far this year has been beyond a joke, and it is acceptable to have a wet January. It's even acceptable to have a wet February, but whenever you get to the 21st, 22nd of March and it's still raining, and the forecast gives a lot more rain for the next week, things are starting to get to the point of being serious. And I want to take a few minutes in this video to talk about what my plan going forward is for the next few months to deal with the weather that we have had over the previous few months. So I farm in a place called Omagh, which is in the middle of Northern Ireland. And the last really good weather we had was the start of June 2023. I think I'm out of water for the radiator, so I'm going to stop and check. I think there is a small leak somewhere, so I'm going to go into the shop and buy some water and hopefully get the beeping stopped and get the radiator working again. Right, we have a full bottle of water into the Puma. If you want to know how I knew to put water in it, it's because it's been leaking water for like a year and a half, and it's very slow to leak, so we just always top it up. Probably should have said something and got that fixed, but I totally forgot. It's been a very long time since it was topped up. Hopefully it was just chance that it happened to be empty and there wasn't something else happened, which means I'm going to have to stop again in 10 minutes. But we can find out together. I also got absolutely soaked with the rain. I could just stand outside with my bottle of water and collect more if I need to. Right, the temperature gauge is way down already, so that is full on hailstones, like proper hailstones. This weather is an absolute joke. Anyway, where was I before I was interrupted by an overheating tractor? So we had really nice weather at the start of June here in Northern Ireland, and then the end of June turned wet, but we did manage to get a few dry days at the start of July to get our third cut lifted. We went early in our third cut. Most other people didn't cut their second cut and waited, and after we had cut our third cut there was 2 more weeks of rain. There was a dry-ish week at the end of July, which is when the rest of the country got their second cut done, and then August was a total washout. Then we had one more week of really nice weather at the start of September, and from that point on until now it has rained non-stop. There is a video, if you go back far enough, of us lifting our 5th cut at the end of September, and that will give you an idea of just how much rain there was in the later part of September, because the ground was dry only 2 weeks previous. We housed our cows this year at the start of October because ground conditions had got so wet and so bad that it was probably costing us more money to keep them out than we were saving on silage. Then you get November, December and January when there was lots more rain, but thankfully when it rains in winter I don't have to worry about it. I don't care because I don't have any animals out and I'm not trying to do any jobs in the field. Then we get to February, and February, as everyone knows, has been an extremely wet month in the UK and Ireland. We did get some slurry out because we had no choice, we had to get slurry out, but we have really damaged a few fields to the point where we're probably going to have to reseed them. A wet February is manageable. You can get some slurry out, you can keep the tanks below the slats and just persevere, hold on until it gets dry in March. However, this year, March has been wetter than February. It is currently the 3rd week of March. We are 1 week away from April. And the fields are as wet now as they have been at any point in the last 5 or 6 months. I can't get my fertiliser sowed, I can't get my slurry done, the tanks are full up again, the cows were out this time last year. There's not a hope they're going out in the next 2 weeks this year. The weather always plays a big part in farming, and this year is no different. It's just unfortunate that the weather has decided to play a very negative part in farming for the last 6 months. So what is my plan? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to manage the bad weather, wet ground conditions, and try to make sure that I'm in a good position when it eventually does dry up to capitalise on that. The water has definitely fixed our cooling issue, by the way. So my strategy so far for the last 6 weeks of trying to do fieldwork has been taking the opportunities when they arise. When we did have a few dry days, we got on, got some slurry out. We're willing to leave some marks just to get the slurry out of the tanks. I'm very glad we've done that, because if we hadn't, we would be in even more trouble at the minute. I also took an opportunity of a few dry days 2 or 3 weeks ago to sow all of my grazing block. I didn't actually get it all sowed because it was too wet. I did leave some marks, I left some tracks, but the growth on our grazing platform over the last 3 weeks has been really good. So when the weather does turn dry, I'll have the grass there for my cows to graze. There was 2 old men in the house back there that were just staring at me as I recorded that last clip. I can understand why. Imagine seeing someone drive down the road in a tractor going like this. So that is my first strategy to dealing with this awful wet weather, is if you can get on and do a job like sow fertiliser or spread slurry, take the opportunity, go get it done. The fertiliser sower has been sitting ready to go in the 8S for the last 2 weeks, and I'm hopeful, potentially, that I might get some fertiliser sowed on Monday morning if the rain holds off for a few hours. Fail to plan, you plan to fail. Isn't that the phrase? I think it is. Second thing I'm going to do to cope with this bad weather is try to be flexible. We have only got about half of our silage ground covered with slurry, but at this point in the year, that is no longer the priority. The priority now is to get nitrogen, to get fertiliser onto that silage ground. You really need to leave 2 weeks between slurry and fertiliser. So if we persisted and kept trying to wait to get slurry onto the silage ground, it could be mid to late April before you're going on with your nitrogen, which is way too late when we cut early May to mid-May. The downside of not getting slurry on half of the silage block is twofold. Number one, we'll have to find other ground for that slurry. It's probably going to go out on grazing ground. And number two, I'm going to need to replace the P and the K, which is in the slurry, with artificial fertiliser. So really it's going to mean a pretty substantial bill for muriate of potash this year, and I'm going to have to get it applied onto the silage ground before first cut. Thankfully this year, the problem of having to put on muriate of potash fertilizer in a separate application to your nitrogen has been greatly reduced because I'm getting a second sower. I'm going for it on Tuesday. I'm sure I'll mention it next week in the YouTube video, but essentially the plan for this year is to have a sower on the back and a sower on the front. Spreader, I meant to say spreader. People get annoyed at me for saying sower. Spreader, it's a spreader on the back and a spreader on the front. So I'm going to split my nitrogen applications, go out as early as I can, potentially Monday, with half of my nitrogen, and then come back in 2 or 3 weeks and finish my nitrogen application and also apply muriate of potash at the same time. The third and final thing I'm going to do this year, because of how wet the last few months has been, is set aside a lot of money to reseed fields. Because I'm going to be late out grazing this year, we're going to have a large surplus of grass, and once the good weather comes, that grass surplus is just going to balloon and become unmanageable, and I'm probably going to end up having to take out a heap of bales, and I don't want to do that. So my plan is to graze 10 acres first, and the second the cows come off it, get it killed off, get it ploughed, and get it reseeded. So instead of taking paddocks out for bales, I am going to take paddocks out for reseeds, and specifically I'm going to target the paddocks that were damaged last year by the wet weather. We also have one of the Italian ryegrass fields which is really badly tracked and damaged, getting the 5th cut off it at the end of September last year. And whilst I could stitch it in, I could try to repair it, I think I'm just going to do a full reseed on it, get it ploughed after the first cut, get it planted back into grass, and have a decent crop of it for the rest of the year. There are several other fields which have also been damaged by trying to get slurry onto them this spring, and my plan is get them sprayed off, get them reseeded at some point throughout the year as well, just to get rid of the compaction, to get rid of the tracks, and get them back to being decent, good fields of grass. So to summarise my third strategy, it is basically to make the decisions fast. If a field needs reseeded, get it reseeded. There's no point in dealing with a bad field of grass which has been damaged by compaction for the whole year, getting to September and then deciding to reseed it. Get it done early and get the grass off it and get the benefit of it in this year. I have no idea why the car behind me has not overtaken, since they've had plenty of opportunity. Oh, and they just overtook on a corner. Okay, right. I know I said that last point was the final one, but there is one more thing we're doing to cope with this wet weather. We thankfully got open from TB over a month ago. We've sold about 50 animals, and we have another 25 bull and heifers going to Oma Mart on Monday morning. It doesn't really make sense to sell that batch of 25 heifers for two main reasons. Number one, they're out of some of our best cows, and they're all out of AI bulls, and they're AI bulls that I am still using this year. Bulls like Knight, Raptor, Sassafras, Crimson, Edison. And the second reason it doesn't really make sense to sell them is the price that bulling heifers are making at the minute. We sold heifer calves last week for £385 at 12 weeks old. These heifers at 13, 14 months old are going to struggle to make 600 or 700. So we have kept them for almost a year longer, and they're only worth about £300 more, at best more like £200 more than heifer calves. So why are we selling them? Well, the main reason is we simply don't have the ground to graze them this summer, and I really do not want to keep animals in the house over summer and eat up our silage. The second reason is that it will release cash flow. It will allow us to reseed the 100 acres, which is not going to be cheap. It will allow us to put in some more drains, repair some drains, stuff like that. It will not allow us to do a lot of that, but it will allow us to do some of it. Right, I'm still 20 minutes from home, so I'm going to put my headphones in, listen to some music, and I'll catch up with you when I finally get back to the farm. And we have finally made it back to the farm. It is so satisfying seeing the horizontal rain just bounce off the bonnet. Now, where am I going to park this to get an incredibly good thumbnail? Well, that's going to be it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Puma with its new fresh painted coat, new roof, service, hydraulic pump repaired. There's a little problem with that too. Tyres will be changed, there will be sprayed rims. It will look even better than this by the time it comes to silage. Hope you all enjoyed this week's video. I'm going to go into my lab for the next 2 or 3 hours before milking, do some coding, build some electronics. When the weather is like this, there is literally no farming to do. What a year. What an absolutely crazy year. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you really enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions, criticism, compliments, comments, stick them down below. Thank you all for watching.